Hey everybody, it's Kim Casebeer, and I thought I would show you how I'm going to pack my paint supplies for Italy. This is actually new for me. I am very used to packing for domestic flights, but not for overseas flights. I am paring down a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit from what I have done in the past because of that. So I thought what I would do is first show you, just show you what I have out, and then I'm going to unpack my backpack and show you all the supplies, and then I'll set up my gear after that. First, one quick note, this is just really about art supplies. I'm not an expert in packing necessarily for like clothing packing, so I'm going to leave that to the experts. One thing I will tell you is that I'm a firm believer in packing light and packing having layers. So you want to have lightweight clothing available to you, especially when it's warm, because I think it will be, and also layers so that you can layer up if you get cool. So for that reason, like a light cotton shirt for painting would be helpful. Make sure that you have a hat for sun protection. I don't actually have my hat out, but make sure you have those kinds of things available to you also. Okay, so first I'm going to talk to you about my backpack. And this was kind of a new thing for me. Okay, just so that you can, now this backpack doesn't have anything in it, but so that you can see the comparison, this is the backpack that I have most of the time in the back of my car or on a domestic flight. Now it's kind of hard to compare the two because this one's already packed, but this is the new version of the Kelty Red Wing. So this is the backpack that I love. It's a Kelty Red Wing. I've always loved these backpacks because they are typically very roomy and they front load instead of just having the sack load on the top, which I think is very important when you're an artist because you don't want to deal with just the top loading type of backpack. They have a lot of, they have strong zippers and a lot of pockets, and they're very easy to get in and out of. Now you will see this Red Wing, this one's called a 3100. It's a little confusing. That's just the model number. This is actually about 50, I think it's about 50,000-ish cubic inches. Or no, I'm sorry, 50 liters. So this is 50 liters. I think it's 31 cubic inches. 50 liters. This one is the 36. That's what they call this one. So they used to go by the inches. That's why it's confusing. It's called 3100, 3100. And so this one is a 3100 cubic inches. But that equals 50 liters approximately. And this one is the 36. So you think that they would be similar, but 36 is actually the liters. So this one holds 36 liters. So it is a smaller backpack. But I can get everything in except for the big items you can see on the outside. And that's okay because I usually strap those to the backpack anyway. So I'm going to take this old one and put it off to the side. And then I'm going to start unpacking this one so you guys can see how I pack. And I'll talk about the brands and what I have in here. The first thing that's really nice to have on a backpack is if you have the cords, the tension cords on the front, you can put your rain jacket or hat or something in that. That's what I have here. I have my rain jacket, so I'll remove that. On the sides, put it back up here again. On the sides, I have both my tripod and my umbrella. Now, some people may not want to carry an umbrella, but I think it's worth having because we don't exactly know if we're going to be in shade or sun. So I have my umbrella and I have my tripod. I'm going to unpack these. So this particular backpack, and many of them, will have straps on either side, and it's set up for like ski poles or something like that, ski poles or hiking poles. So you can, if I can get it to undo, you can strap your tripod and your umbrella to the sides. Now I put my tripod, I don't know if you guys can see this, but there's like a pass-through hole for poles. And I put my tripod leg through that and then strapped it using the straps. On this side, I have my umbrella. Let me undo this, unhook this. The umbrella, the bottom of the umbrella did not go through the hiking pole pass through, but that's okay because hopefully you can see this. There's a pocket here for like a water bottle or something. There's the pass-through hole, but also you could stick something in front of the water bottle hole, the location, and you could just stick it straight into the bottom of the hiking pole place. So that's what I did with my umbrella. So they're both on the outside. I am not going to set up the umbrella, but one thing, I'm going to try to put some links in with this video in the email. These little twist ties that I have on the umbrella, I don't know if you guys can see these. Let me take one off. These are they're like giant twisties. Can you see that against my painting maybe? They are so handy. I use a ton of these. You can buy them on Amazon, you can buy them I have found them at our good old Ace Hardware store. They come in different lengths. I would suggest longer to medium length, but you can see I have two twisties that are keeping that umbrella together. Because I have a bag for the umbrella, but in this case, I just want to pare everything down. So I'm just getting rid of extra bags and extra things. So I'm going to attach these twisties to the umbrella. That's going to hold the umbrella together. Then I put it in the backpack. Put that aside. I am going to talk a little bit about tripods before we move on, because the tripod that I had attached to the backpack is the one that I really want to use. Let me pull this one off to the side. So the one that I have attached to the backpack is the Manfrotto. It's the 190CX Pro 3. And I sent an email out with this, but I will send the link again if anybody is interested. Now, this tripod is a carbon fiber tripod. It's about, I'm not weighing them, but if I just hold them together, they're about the same weight, because this tripod is aluminum and this one's carbon fiber. So, but this ball head on the carbon fiber Manfrotto is much heavier duty than this tripod. The key thing here is you can see that they are significantly, the ProMaster, that's what this one in my right hand is, the ProMaster is significantly shorter. So I haven't decided which one I'm going to take, but weight-wise, it won't make a difference. What will make a difference is if I need something small. This ProMaster works very well. It's just a little more cumbersome to open because it has these four, you have to untwist all four of the legs, and then I'm just going to do this now, but I am going to show you the setup with the Manfrotto, not with the ProMaster. So you can see you have to do that for each of the legs. Not a huge deal, but when you're already trying to set up a bunch of stuff, I find it a little cumbersome. I do like how small it is, super nice, super handy. It is the ProMaster, I don't know what the model number is. Oh, here it is, ProMaster XC525. And I've had both of mine for several years. This one's several years old. Super lightweight. You do need to have a quick release. Whichever tripod you choose, you have to have a quick release that fits into the ball head of that particular tripod. And make sure you have a couple extras of those quick release plates, because you're going to want one on your pochade, maybe one for your camera, but really it's just nice to have an extra one in case you lose the first one. So I try to carry two. But the ProMaster quick releases are completely different from the Manfrotto quick releases. So you just have to make sure you know which quick release you need for what tripod. So this is the ProMaster. Again, you see the difference there in the height. I don't know what that is, maybe 4 or 5 inches difference. I mean, it's significant. If I can't get away with having my Manfrotto, I'll carry the ProMaster. But the Manfrotto is the one I want because it is carbon fiber, so it's still lightweight, but it has a very heavy duty ball head and really is sturdy and holds up well to windy conditions and all kinds of conditions. So this is the one I'm going to set up. Taking those off. Okay, so here is the backpack. We talked about the pole pass-throughs. I didn't put my water bottle in. Probably what I'm going to do is I have, again, more of these twisties or carabiners. Carabiners are also amazing, equally amazing. I can take this carabiner and I can hook it to like one of my straps or the zippers, and then I can stick my water bottle on there and just hang it off my backpack if I want to. That's probably what I would do. Or if you have room in your zippered in the sides, you could stick your water bottle in the side. It just might be a little less convenient because I have both the umbrella and the tripod on both sides. But gotta have a water bottle, very important. I like these plastic Nalgene type water bottles. Okay, another thing that the twisties are excellent for is to put your mineral spirits, your washer on. So you can see I have a twisty, I have the washer, and I'm just gonna hook it somewhere, probably on a zipper or cord or somewhere. And I find it very nice to have the washer outside of the pack as opposed to inside the pack. And the reason is because, pay attention, if you've had your washer for a while, you may need to replace the O-ring, the rubber O-ring inside the washer. Just make sure it doesn't leak. If it leaks a little bit, like sometimes even though I've replaced this one, it depends on all kinds of things, but if it's dried out a little bit, it might leak a little. So it's just nice. I always find it handy to have my washer hanging off the backpack on the outside rather than inside where it can, like I've had them get a jacket completely wet. That's a problem when you need to use your jacket. So these twisties, again, I'm gonna find a link for you guys if you want to find some of these twisties, because I'm just gonna hang this right off of my backpack. Okay, opening up the Kelty 36. And by the way, this is a women's Kelty 36, so it's even a little bit, I think it's a little bit smaller than the men's. But I did that on purpose because, in my opinion, it's always better to try to get your stuff into a more confined backpack rather than using a bigger backpack. So that's why I'm not using this backpack, because if I use this backpack, I'm just gonna fill the whole thing. That's what's gonna happen. So instead of doing that, I'm confining myself to this 36 liter as opposed to the 50 liter backpack, and I'm gonna make it all fit. And that's another reason why it's nice to have things on the outside of your backpack if they don't all fit inside. But the reality is that my tripod and my umbrella, even in the bigger backpack, they would be on the outside. They wouldn't be on the inside. Okay, opening this up. So this is another thing I'm going to give you a link to. These plastic bags are so handy. Dick Blick has them. I think other companies make them, but they're like a reinforced plastic. They have a plastic mesh inside. I'm not sure you can see that, but they are heavy duty and they're clear. And so you can see what you have inside, and also you can know that they're not gonna rip for you, as opposed to having just like a freezer bag, which I've also done. Like if you can't get a hold of these, just use a heavy duty Ziploc freezer bag and double them. Double them up so that in case something happens, one might catch the mess if the other one doesn't. So that's the alternative to this. I don't recommend like the plastic boxes or things like that, just because they're hard and they're, you know, you can't move that, you can't change the size of them. They're stuck in that size. So these are nice because you can kind of squish this into different places. So I have one of these for kind of all the catch-alls, I'll call them the catch-alls, and then one for my paint. So let's talk about the paint first. Here's my bag, unzip it. This is really important. If you are an oil painter and you are bringing traditional oils with you, like I am, you are going to need the safety data sheets off of the brand that you have. You can't just use random data sheets. You have to go find the ones that belong to, say, Gamblin if you use Gamblin, or in my case, I have Mgram, and so I am going to have the safety data sheets for Mgram. The good news is that all of the major oil paint brands will have these on their websites. So you go to their website, you look up the material safety data sheets, and you print them. And this one, for example, is the hazardous safety data sheet, and then there's one that's a non-hazardous. And so you basically have two of them, and I print both sets because I have both types of paint. And then inside of them, I will highlight what TSA is looking for. Is they're looking for the flash point. And so I'm not sure if you guys you have to maybe zoom the video in, but at the bottom, it says flash point. This product is not known to be flammable. And so that highlight right there is what you're after. That's on page 2. If you are using Mgram, that's on page 2. Let me just flip here. When they get folded, it's hard to flip them. Let's see, on page 4, I also highlight, there's all kinds of like odor, threshold, boiling point. There's a flash point again, and it says non-flammable, and I highlight that. So I just go through it basically and look for the flash point because that's what TSA is concerned with. And then there's some specifics to what's in the paint. Move on, page 5. Page 6, down here at page 6, it starts showing you the product list, and that's where I highlight the paints that I actually have packed, because this is very general for hazardous paints. And so, for example, I have Cad Red Light highlighted. And then on the next page, I have Cobalt Blue highlighted. I don't have the Cad Yellow Light highlighted because in this case, when I was using these, I was using Bismuth Yellow. And so that's highlighted on the non-hazardous. So you have to go through and make sure you have highlighted the paint that you are actually going to carry with you. So there's the hazardous one, and then there's the non-hazardous one. It's the same exact thing, only you're going to highlight the particular flash points again, and then you're going to highlight which paints you have. So like here on page 6, I have titanium white, transparent red iron oxide, etc. So these are all highlighted. I've used these in a previous trip. I will probably print all new ones and highlight just the paint I'm actually going to have with me, and then put it in a Ziploc bag separate from the paint. That way, in case your paint explodes, these aren't all dirty. So separate from the paint here in my little Ziploc, and my Ziploc's kind of a mess. I'll probably get a new one. And this Ziploc bag with the safety data sheets is going to go inside my oil paint, my oil paint bag. The other thing that's going to go in my oil paint bag, and you may want to print a couple copies of this, is this Attention Airline Inspectors. This is made for a label, and you can print it on like one of those full sheet labels if your printer does that. I usually just print it on paper and then just stick it right in the bag. But if you have a way of like attaching it with a sticker, I would recommend though that at least one of these goes inside the bag and not just attaches to the outside of the bag, just in case it falls off. But I'm going to also give you guys a copy of this. I think I sent one a long time ago, but it's been a while, and I'll send another one. It basically tells you, tells TSA that how TSA defines flammables as a flash point of 140 Fahrenheit or below. And all these supplies conform to TSA. All the flash points are above 550 and are considered non-hazardous. And also it gives attention to the fact that you might have wet paintings in. And so that's more for on your trip back. How are you going to store the wet paintings? You may want to print a couple copies of this. And this is what I usually do. I put one in my paint. I save a couple copies, and then a second one goes in, or however many I need, go into my wet panel carrier. So I might stick one like right on top of my wet panel carrier. So for now, I'm going to put these back into my paint bag. So you can see there's all the paints. I'm not going to go through all those. The supply list has the colors that I use. I am going to use all small tubes, just FYI. In fact, even white, which I usually carry a big tube of, I will probably instead carry 2 small tubes of the white. Just, whatever you can do to make your life easier is how I'm gonna handle this. So when I'm done with this, gonna zip it back up. These are Super Duty bags. They're so handy to have. There's the paint, okay? Here's the catch-all bag. It's a lot cleaner. It's got these twisties, got several of those. Got some Band-Aids, just, in case, hopefully nothing happens. I have some tape in here that I'll explain why I'm taking that here in a minute. Here's another freezer bag, Ziploc bag with wet ones and shout wipes. Like in case you accidentally get some paint on clothes you don't want paint on, it's nice to have a shout wipe. And also the wet ones are for your hands. So this is really handy to have. Inside this catch-all bag is also, look, a third. Okay, and here's Alvin is another brand that carries these. So this is an actual Alvin brand, not a Blick brand, but this is holding my my markers, my grayscale markers. So I got another little bag for my markers. Also in here is my view catcher. Nice to have one of these, and this plastic one is so handy because it's so durable. Like this thing, I've had this for 15 years. Nothing can happen to it. Well, maybe not nothing, but so far nothing has happened to it. Rubber gloves or latex gloves or nitrile gloves, whatever you want to carry with you. I carry a little bag of those. Notice that everything that I have is pretty contained. Even if I have a bag for the catch-alls, I don't just have everything thrown in here. I have everything separated. So it's really easy to grab stuff that way. I have a couple of things in this catch-all that will not go in a carry-on. And that's important to note. For me, I do believe out of my whole family, and my family's showing up later, we are gonna have one checked bag, and that's gonna be mine, which is going with me first. And the reason that's important is because the paint, now I've heard both things. I've heard people get paint confiscated, which I'd hate to have happen to you guys. And I've heard people say that it's no problem. They put their paint in their carry-on bag. I am going to put it in my checked bag because that makes me too nervous. So even though I've got all the warning labels and everything is non-flammable, I'm putting this in my checked bag. A couple other things I'm putting in my checked bag is I don't carry a full size scraper, but I carry one of these little tiny utility scrapers with a razor blade in backwards, so it's not going to cut anybody. And this is for scraping paint off of my pochade. Put that back in the bag. I carry some hex tools, and these are, if you've seen the ball heads and like the quick releases and stuff, in case something gets loose, a lot of tripods will use these hex tools. At least the Manfrotto ones do. And so I carry a set of these because you never know. And then I carry a multi-tool, and this is really handy. So instead of a full-on pliers, I carry the multi-tool with the pliers. It's got knives and stuff in it too. I think it has a little scissors, but this is super handy. Obviously, this is not going in your carry-on, so that has to go into the checked bag. So I've got some stuff in here that later, if when I'm actually packing for getting on the airline, that will go in a separate checked bag. But for now, all of this is going, this is how I would pack for the painting portion of our trip, not the airline portion, but the painting portion. All of this is going into this little catch-all bag, which separates everything nicely in the backpack. Okay, oh, and I have the tape, which I'll talk about in a minute, but that's in the catch-all bag too. Okay, what else is in the backpack? Viva paper towels, because they act more like cloth than a lot of other paper towels, and they're very absorbent and they're very handy to have. So I swear by Viva paper towels. And then I have, instead of plastic bags for my trash, I have this handy mesh bag. This is made by Artwork Essentials, and maybe at this point some other people make it, but I'm gonna try to include a link so that you guys see that. That's my trash bag. Here is where my brushes sit on my easel, my brush holder, and my palette knife holder. That's all together in there. This is my nice little EZL, and this is, let's see, it's not 10 by 12, it's actually 10 by 11, which is super lightweight and handy, and it's got basically a 8 by 10, I think it's 8 by 10, or maybe it's 10 by, I don't know what I think it's 8 by 10 inside. I think it's actually called an 8 by 10 pochade, but the outside of it is 10 by 11. So not big, but big enough for all the small studies that we're going to do. And that's what I'm carrying. I'm not carrying any bigger pochade because I just want it to be nice and lightweight. Now, I have mentioned a couple times in the emails that an alternative for the, let me back up a second. I also have a sketchbook here in the back of my backpack. So there's my 5x8 sketchbook for sketches. Then, okay, now I have the Arches oil paper. And I mentioned in a couple emails that if you want to travel really nice and lightweight, as opposed to carrying so this is the wet canvas carrier. And I could carry this, so if I'm backpacking and we're walking to our location, I got this backpack on with everything else, I'm still holding this in my hand. This is an 8 by 10 size. I will probably have this size. Within the 8 by 10, I can put 6 by 8s, 8 by 8s, and 8 by 10s. So I have a multitude of different sizes, and they're all pretty small. Of course, you can't get bigger than 8 by 10 in this. This is made by Raymar. They also make a 10 by 12, so that's another good size that you could carry with you. And then we have those larger panels, and so it will be nice to have a like an 11 by 14 to carry with you. Or you can take it and you can put wax paper over it, and I'm going to show you that here in just a little bit. So here's the Arches oil paper. Here's another option. If you don't want to carry a lot of panels with you, you can see there's 6 panels in that. And that's maybe 2 inches wide. So you can see it's fairly hefty. So as opposed to that, here's a 9 by 12 Arches pad, and this 9 by 12 Arches pad has 12 sheets of oil paper. So obviously that's a lot smaller. The 9 by 12 is what I would recommend. It's got a nice cardboard backing, so this will fit right on your, if you have a pochade like mine with a back to it, this will fit right on the pochade. And I can paint just like this. I'd recommend leaving the paper in the pad, and then that way it's all contained. If the paper comes out of the pad, or really just even after you paint, you may want, well, you probably will want, I would recommend, some palette paper. This is what, or wax paper works too, but I just buy these palette papers because they also come in a pack like this in a pad, and these are 9 by 12. So when I'm done with a painting, I can stick the painting, the wet painting, in between the sheets, because these are wax paper sheets. I can stick the painting up against the wax paper and stick all the paintings in between the sheets of the palette pad because they're waxed. So I'm not actually going to use this palette pad as a palette. I'm just going to use it as storing all of my oil sheets. So when I'm all done, there'll be a bunch of oil sheets in between each page, and then I'll have to get a new one. The cover of this one fell off, but then you would just put it all together. You would just wrap this up, and then you would tape it. And that's what the tape is for. So here's 2 reasons why I have tape. For that reason, I would tape this whole thing shut, and then I've probably got like 10 paintings all in this palette, which is really handy. Of course, you have to make sure you have the same size, right? 9 by 12, 9 by 12 arches, 9 by 12 palette. If the cardboard doesn't seem sturdy enough to you, or for some reason, because maybe you don't have a back on your pochade, you need something sturdier, you could take a 9 by 12, this is a panel, this is actually an oil panel, and I just taped my paper to the panel in the corners. And I could work off of this too. This is nice and sturdy now, so I don't have to worry about it being flimsy. So that's another reason to have the tape, because you could tape it all onto a board and then you could put it on your pochade. So I will have, I'm going to have the arches paper. I'm going to have a paper palette because that saves a lot of space. But then I'm also, because of the length of the trip, I'm also going to have a Raymar wet panel carrier. Okay, so I think I've talked about everything. Now I'm gonna get up a second here if I can. And I'm going to open up the tripod and show you guys how this is done. Pretty easy. This is one reason why I love the Manfrotto tripod. 2 latches for each leg. Open that all up. 3 legs. Okay, I have a lot of stuff on the floor, so I have to kind of make sure. So there's the tripod. I did not talk about the rock sack. I think it's handy to have a rock sack. This is made by Gorilla Painter. I think there are some other brands out there that make it. It attaches to your tripod, and then you have a nice handy little place there. In wind, so what it's made for is if it's windy, which it is in Kansas all the time, you put a rock in here. Literally, it's a rock sack. Of course, if we don't want to carry rocks around, you can also just put your water bottle in there, or your sunglasses, or whatever you need to store can go right in there. So it's just a really handy thing to have. I would recommend having one. So there's the tripod. I'm going to turn this sideways. I think it would work better if it was turned sideways and you guys can see it the best that way. And in fact, I think I'm going to bring this down just a little bit so it's easier for you to see, because I think I have my phone pointed downward just a little for the video. There we go. Okay, so Manfrotto tripod, ball head with the quick release. And then here's the pochade box with the same quick release. Snaps right on there. I open this up first. Snaps right on there. Okay, can you see that? So fast and easy. Now I'm going to undo this. Put that up. I'm not going to put paint on it. I just want to show you guys how it's set up. I think you can see that. I'm going to bring that down just a little bit more here quickly so you can really see it. Sorry about that. I thought putting it up would help. There we go. It's making a lot of noise because there's no panel on it. But there we go. Now you can see there's the pochade. Turn it a little bit. Okay, so where did I put everything? Here is the brush holder. sits nicely over here, sorry, on this side, just like that. And then the brush washer. Again, if you have one of these little twisties, this is so nice. You could put it directly on one of these, like the knob that opens up the pochade. You guys cannot see that. There we go. Can you see that? You can put it on the knob here. If that's too tight, because to me that's too tight and I can't get my brushes in there very easily, what I do is I use the twisties again, and I twisty this, just kind of twisty this to the knob, and now my brush washer is hanging down, and then it's a lot easier to get the brushes in that. Paper towels, I usually just hold in my hand. That's typically what artists do. I have a, here's where the carabiner or another twisty could come in handy. Somewhere on here, there's gonna be something I can hook to. Actually, my hook is in the back. That's not usually the case, but I'll put it there. There's a hook on the Manfrotto, and I got my carabiner attached to that, or I could attach the carabiner somewhere else. But this trash bag will hook on the carabiner or another twisty that you have, and then the trash bag is like right here, so that I can easily throw the trash in the trash bag. So then I'm holding my paper towels, and I have everything set up here. Just for the sake of setting up, I'll use the Arches one, just so you guys can see. This happens to be, here's the 9x12 pad. So let's set up the pad here. That thing doesn't make a lot of noise if you get something on it. So there's the pad. Paint, I'll lay all out. I'm not gonna do that right now. Let's see what else. Brushes will go there. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, that in a nutshell shows you how to set everything up. The umbrella, if you need to set it up. I'll go ahead and do this since we're talking about setups. Get the twisties off. Okay. This umbrella does look pretty big, but it's super sturdy and super handy. So you untwist this, get it down. I like to get it down lower on the tripod. It kind of depends on where the angle of the sun is, but which leg you put it on. But you put it on the leg. Okay, then get this to turn upward. And there's a couple of these to loosen, little knobs to loosen. Tighten that back up, get that up. Okay, here's the other half, the important half, is the umbrella. So the EasyL umbrella is made, I'll actually need to lay this down so you guys can see what the heck is going on. So the EasyL umbrella is made to lift off of your tripod if the wind gusts. That's what it's actually supposed to do. So you just friction fit it right into the hole. There you go. You guys still can't really see it, but it's put together. Let me make it a little lower. It's too low for me to go underneath, but there it's lower. It has these wind vents, and you can, the wind goes through it. So that works pretty nicely. If the wind catches it, it will just lift right off of here. That's what's supposed to happen. So it'll lift right off and blow. So you can have it tied to the rest of to the base of the umbrella, and then it won't blow away. However, I've actually had this in very windy situations. I've had this topple my entire setup over when it blows off. So if it's really windy, I just untie this whole thing.
but I don't know if we'll experience that, but that's how you set it up. And that's what makes the EasyL umbrella different from other umbrellas, because it has the wind vent, which a lot of umbrellas do, but it's made to come off. And that's on purpose so that it won't take your all your equipment with it, because that's pretty important. You don't want your whole thing to go flying. So I'm going to take that back off. I think that covers everything. I have a lot of stuff laid out, but I'm going to put some links in with the video that you guys can purchase if you want to, and ask questions, please, if you need to. And I will see you in Italy. Can't wait.